Hello everybody, welcome to our fourth webinar, named Smart Mindshift. Smart Mindshift is about safety, efficiency and resilience on the workplace. In a few moments, John Hutchins will tell you a little bit more about this topic. But before we go to John, I'd like to say a few words to John Hutchins, who's retiring. John, I'd like to thank you on behalf of STC International of all the years we worked together. John was always a valuable partner in our training programs. Most of the training programs were based on trainer-trainer programs. We learned a lot from John, and John, thank you for that. Hopefully, in the near future, we can still work together in different, smaller projects. We like to say all from STC International, take your time and rest and enjoy in the country you are living now, or living already for quite a while, Finland. All the best, John, and see you soon. Bye-bye.
Okay, good. Thanks very much, Albert. That was very nice and very unexpected. So thank you for that. Okay, as Albert says, my name is John Hutchins, and I work in the sector of innovation and educational development at STC, where I did work there. And within this sector, we've developed a program called Smart Mindshift. And part of the mission of Smart Mindshift is to bring safety to concepts, not only to the learners and trainers within our college, but also associated companies from the private sector. And Smart Mindshift is not solely about safety, but also addresses efficiency in the workplace and how resilience and systems thinking and positive psychology play a major role. And just to give you an idea of what Smart Mindshift is all about, we're going to show you 3 videos. So the videos are designed for 3 different groups of persons. The first video is about 4 minutes long, and it's designed to show how a young forklift driver, in our case, which would be one of our students, how safety too will apply to his or her workplace. The second video is about 10 minutes long, and that addresses the debate between resource management and safety too, and why human error is not the cause of accidents. This video is designed for a more advanced group of persons educated in safety. But regardless of your level, I think you'll find it interesting. And the third and the last video is about 3 minutes long. It's called Positive Thinking Safety, and it explains how we've integrated the concepts of safety too and utilized FRAM and positive psychology and advanced debriefing and feedback techniques to design learning programs in the area of shipping, logistics, transport, and the process industry. Now, during these videos, occasionally you hear reference to other videos in the series, but ignore those for now. We don't have time to cover all the material we've designed for this program. So I hope you find the videos interesting. And afterwards, we'll have a question and answer session after all 3 videos have run. So thank you, and I'll see you in a bit.
This is an introduction to new safety. What is new safety, and is there an old safety? Let's imagine you're driving your forklift, and for one reason or another, you drop the box. In old safety, or what many call safety 1, the typical first reaction would be to assume you've done something wrong, blame you, and go on the attack, as we say. Next, a question. Why did you do that? When a question is asked in that way, it puts you into defense mode. Your answer will most likely be the one which you feel gets you into the least trouble. Then, management will point to procedures and assume you weren't paying attention or driving too fast, for example. And they might be correct, but everyone already knows to pay attention, and everyone already knows there's a speed limit. So telling you again to follow the rules is of little use. You feel bad for dropping the box, and now extra pressure because management is watching you. So these methods are not very helpful. So how's new safety different? Well, I'm glad you asked that question. New safety takes a different approach. Firstly, you must think about things in a different way. For example, no one wants to make a mistake. So when something goes wrong, attacking, blaming, and judging are not good strategies for discovering why something happened. So the first thing is, don't judge. Second, instead of asking why you did that, ask them to explain how they saw the situation. You may think it's the same question as before, and in a way it is, but if you are truly interested on how something happened, you need to hear things from the operator's point of view. Everyone already knows to pay attention, and everyone already knows the speed limit. So let's try and discover how the situation developed. Maybe there's peer pressure or management pressure to perform fast, or maybe the procedure needs changing. The next question should be something like, how can we help you? Is there something we as the organization can do, or do we need to change things? So by asking the right question in the right way, we are trying to understand the situation and to understand the system which the operator is working. So let's summarize. So here you can see a comparison. Instead of going on the attack and blaming, we try and understand the situation from your perspective. Instead of simply reminding you to follow the procedures, we try to find out the reason behind the excessive speed, and we even ask ourselves if the procedure needs changing. New safety appreciates that everyone is working within a system, and every system has things that influence your behavior. This is part of systems thinking, and is the cornerstone of new safety. All activities, whether you are driving a forklift or behind the computer in the office, are connected.
This is an introductory video on where maritime resource management fits into new safety. Firstly, let's have a short recap of what MRM is and how it works. In MRM, the strategy of the program is to address the attitude of the individuals. A change of attitude is reflected in a change of behavior. So, as an example, if the individual or team demonstrate improved situation awareness, then they're demonstrating a positive change in behavior, and the training has become a success. Let's use an example to explain where MRM fits into new safety. With respect to the diagram, OwnShip was planning to alter into the channel, but didn't make it. We don't need to open debate on the choice of the alteration point or anything else. For now, we just want you to visualize there's been an incident. Any incident will do. I've just chosen this one. It's a typical day on the bridge, just the usual conversation, radio communication, equipment alarms, so nothing out of the ordinary. The officer of the watch alters course, but for one reason or another, the ship runs aground. So in an MRM mindset, we could accuse the officer of poor situational awareness, or lack of monitoring the turn, or having a hazardous thought, such as it'll probably be okay, or another favorite, which is complacency. The officer has been there many times before, so is in a relaxed mindset. MRM looks at these terms and cites them as a cause as to why things have gone wrong. It then links them together, typically in a linear timeline, to create an error chain. So the focus is on blame and trying to determine why did this happen. New safety approaches this situation differently. The objective of new safety is to understand how the situation manifested itself. So the approach is different, as is the line of questioning of the officer. For example, instead of asking, why did you do this? Or why didn't you monitor things? Or why didn't you prioritize? The question instead is, explain the situation as you saw it. The situation as the individual perceives it at the time is what's important. You want his or her perspective. From the video you watched on resilience, we already know some of the internal influencers which can affect performance. So it's a good idea to be reminded of this. In systems thinking, we want to discover the other influencers affecting performance. Don't forget, we experience interactions physically, cognitively, and emotionally. And that means everything within the system. From the outside looking in, it's easy to say the individual lost situational awareness. MRM failures, such as loss of situational awareness, falls under the heading of human error. In new safety, human error is not the cause of accidents, but a symptom of the individual struggling in the system. So if we just look at the facts presented sitting at our desk in a nice quiet room, it would seem obvious to us what happened. Why on earth couldn't the officer see it coming? Because the officer is not sitting in a quiet office behind a desk looking at a few facts. He's struggling in a dynamic system, operating in good faith, taking what he thinks is the right action based on his perception at the time. Let's look closely as to what is going on in the system. We're going to take a couple minutes to look at a model developed by Dr. Eric Hollnagel, a prominent psychologist, and it's called a FRAM for short. It helps us to understand interactions between activities. Without going into great detail, every activity, function, or task we undertake has several inputs. The input, which starts the function, the output, which is the result, time restrictions, constraints, control, like a procedure or a guideline, our resources, skill, competence, and a precondition. So in our case, for altering the course with the ship, it could be the precondition is that the steering motor is in good working order, for example. But here's the important part. Every activity within the bridge, the ship, the surrounding environment can be, and in many cases is, directly or indirectly connected to each other. So let's say you turn the ship's wheel to starboard, but it doesn't turn as fast as you expect. So the time factor in your FRAM can affect the output of the rate of turn, which is now slower than you would have liked. This can impact subsequent actions by the officer. This is not unusual. All deck officers have experienced the vessel not turning as quickly as expected. And the output from one activity can become the input for another activity. Even your competence training is a resource, which can also affect the activity and thus the output. When you look at the bigger picture, it can look like this. There are activities which can be affected directly or indirectly by the slow turn of the ship. Again, we aren't going in to discuss all the related activities, but I just want to help you visualize that there is a system and that the activities can be connected, some to a greater degree and some to a lesser. Also, the system is dynamic. It's always changing. A small delay in one thing can resonate through the system to develop into something huge, or it can, as in most cases, go completely unnoticed and dissolve into the system. Stay with me, I'm getting to my point. So when we look closely at one activity or function, not only do we have the elements of the FRAM, but we also have the influences affecting the performance. So this is every activity to a greater or lesser degree with different individuals, alone or in teams, running parallel, downstream, upstream to other activities. Something which seems insignificant, we call a background function, can suddenly become a foreground function and increase in importance. Is this simple? No. Complicated? No, it's worse. It's complex. What MRM can be guilty of is trying to explain complexity in one simple phrase like situational awareness. That's why it's called a construct. It's a word created to try and simplify a complex situation. But by doing so, many things are lost in the simplification. Oversimplification dilutes the important details. One unfortunate side effect of Safety 1 is that the incident reports may try to explain complexity by using decomposition. So with an MRM mindset, an inspector will go looking for poor situation awareness or complacency, and he or she will find it, and from this make an error chain. But much of what goes on in the system is not visible or recorded. So there's insufficient data upon which to draw conclusions. So you can run the risk of an oversimplified and incorrect analysis. So if the conclusion of the report is that the officer should have had better situation awareness, that's not very helpful. Everyone already knows you're supposed to maintain good situation awareness. So then, report is filed and it's believed that just having better situational awareness will prevent the event from occurring in the future. Don't get hung up on Safety 1 versus Safety 2. Safety 1 is not wrong. It's just not the whole story. MRM has a place. There's value in maintaining good situation awareness, for example. After an incident, be cautious of diving into blame and searching for a root cause. Everything has a precursor. Is Safety 2 discussion the end of the story? No, it's not. It's just another necessary step in our journey to help make as many things as possible go right.
Positive thinking safety is culmination of research and practice in industry and academia. Our goal is to utilize most effective methods to understand how to optimize safety and improve human involvement in every working sector. Although there are other elements, the following are our basic 4 steps. As an example, in the area of safety, we always start with a personal interview.
So what we're going to do is we're going to design an education and training program. And what we need to discover from your side is, what do you do on a typical day?
We first need to establish how on a daily basis things have gone well. Only then can we understand the system and obtain insight into how the unwanted outcome manifested. Our next step is either to develop on our own program or co-create with the client.
And we'd like to get some feedback from you, if it's okay with you, and also to see if there is anything that you'd like to add to the program.
The appropriate educational method is chosen to match both the learner and desired outcome. Typically, this is in the form of facilitation, utilizing practical exercises with support from a broad spectrum of educational tools. Last of the basic 4 steps is the debriefing session. Here we facilitate reflection and abstract conceptualization in a supportive learning environment.
Okay, Alko, so what we'd like to do in this debrief is to find out how did it go for you, and if you did this exercise again, would you do things the same, or is there anything that you'd like to change?
We aid the learner in discovering his or her strengths, and if necessary, areas for improvement. Their own conclusions and their plan for improvement is key to establishing engagement of the learner.
So let's summarize. What do you think are your strengths? And in what areas would you like to improve?
I forgot to turn my mic on. So we're open to any questions about those things, but I think it's what I wanted to emphasize is that in Smart Mindshift, we try to look at why things went well in general, because most of the time things go well in your organization, and it's really important to find out what those things are and why that occurred. Because many times, especially in the area of safety, we always look for the negative. And something happens, then we react, and then we think, why did it go wrong? But in general, things go well many more times than they go wrong. So if you can find out why things are going well in your organization, also in relation to safety, then that's really valuable information. So I'm just waiting for if there's any questions. 1 second. No, but Audrey's somewhere with me, linked up, and she also has. Is there anything you wanted to mention, Audrey, since we don't have any questions at the moment?
Yes, John, thank you for your great talk. Still, of course, I know the story, but every time again, I really find this story a very interesting one. And this morning we also had a session and some questions came up there. And one of the questions was, what is the difference between just culture and positive psychology?
Okay.
Okay. I'm not sure, John, whether you want to answer that question or that I shall answer that question.
Maybe what did you say about it, and then I can I can add. I
will try to give an answer to that one. Well, there is not really a difference between just culture and positive psychology. Just culture is part of positive psychology. It's the way of how you look at things. It's the way of that you are not looking at blaming somebody, but it's the way of how you together can come up with a different approach to learn something from things that might go different as expected. So you look for the learning opportunities that are in the situation. So that would be my answer to that question. I'm not sure, John, whether you would like to add something to that.
Yeah, if I could, I'm just waiting to go live again. Am I? Oh yeah, I'm there. Okay, great. Yeah, I think it's really important that in a just culture, I mean, in the old days, it started with a no blame culture. But the problem with that term is that it suggests that people aren't accountable for what they do. So that didn't work. And into the just culture, which is sort of a more modern phrase, the just culture, you should explain as to why you took those actions. And that's regardless of the outcome, what was your thinking behind that? So it's very much the same as Smart Mindshift and positive psychology. It's like, what is your thinking behind the action you took? Because everyone does the best they can in good faith, faced with the facts as they see them. And that's what just culture is about. It's really about not attacking the person, but finding out what was their thinking behind it. And even if they deviated from procedures, did they weigh the social benefit from the risk? And maybe in their mind, that was actually the right thing. And when you think about it and you step back quietly, you think, actually, that was a really good decision. It just didn't have a very good outcome. So it puts the person themselves in a more favorable position, and they're also willing to be more open with, maybe they have personal problems or something like that. They don't get along with their manager, and that's really valuable information, which you need to find out to help individuals work within the system. Yeah, so that was good.
Yeah, okay, I could add something to that if I get the microphone. It's also, I guess, I really relate to what you're saying, John, and it's also about having a culture of trust, to create a safe psychological environment in which people are able to learn and are not afraid to address issues. It also has to do with changing from a fixed mindset into a growth mindset. So where are the learning opportunities to also to develop as a person without being afraid that if you open up that you are being blamed? And that, I think, there is the real gain for an organization. So when they're able to create that environment, everybody can learn from each other.
Yeah. Can I have the mic back, Bertha?
Going back to John.
Yeah, that's completely correct, Audrey. Actually, I've just lost my train of thought now for some reason. I don't know why. Yeah, okay. I forgot what I was going to say, actually. Okay. Is there anything else? Any other questions you had, or from this morning?
I don't see any other questions, but maybe you can ask the audience.
Okay, let's have a look. One thing I would like the manager would like to mention is that I think in the area of safety in particular, we should be challenging concepts, challenging what we understand about safety. For example, whenever we go down the stairs, everyone says, hold the handrail. And people have always said that for years. And that's something that came out like decades ago. But there's actually, when you do the research, there's actually no data to support that. In fact, over-reliance on the handrail leads to many accidents. There's much more involved. There's the position of the stepping, the content, the surface of the step, the angle. But also, if you think about it, if you're now relying on the handrail, there's the ergonomics and how strong is your arm. So I think people should challenge what they accept as the norm now. And that's part of the Smart Mind Shift. You know, we're bringing in new research, lots of experience in different sectors, and just go into stuff with an open mind. And for example, in relation to the incident reports, for example, I just listened to a webinar yesterday about incident reports and are they actually of any real value? This was a podcast I heard from the head of the Danish Accident Investigation Branch, questioning the validity of incident reports, which we accept as really, really important. But what do you actually do with them? You get all this data. And what happens is just even the name report, if you find out something's go wrong and immediately you find you're going to be reported, it has a negative connotation to it. No one says, oh, we've got a learning moment, or we've got a chance to learn from this. And you think, oh, that's interesting. And I'm part of that. That would be cool. But the whole connotation about it, you're going to be on the report. Immediately, you fall back into defense mode. And that's what we want to change in the Smart Mind Shift. We want to change that, as you say, we want to change that mindset.
Yeah,
so
exactly, John. I agree with what you are saying. And what I also see, the world around us is evolving at a fast rate. Technologies and jobs become smarter and more complex, and people need to become more adaptive and flexible to effectively deal with these changes. And rules and regulations facilitate the safety of the process, but a smart mindset is essential to contain that high safety level and also to let people and organizations flourish in this rapidly developing smart environment. And I think that's what we would like to achieve within STC also, that we can help to make these changes in culture and make these changes in behavior.
Yeah, I'm waiting for to get online. Yeah, Audrey, that's really good. But we've just got a question now, so maybe I can have a look at that. Feel that Smart Mind Shift is applicable to practically any field. Actually, yes, that's actually a really good point that I wanted to. That's what I actually forgot I was going to say. You know, when something happens in safety and they have an accident, for example, what that's actually telling them is that the system, there's a flaw in the system somewhere. It just happened to come out at that moment in the area of safety. It's actually a marker to say that the system which the people are operating is perhaps not running as well as possible because we've just had this incident happen and it shouldn't have happened. So it's not just about safety. I mean, we're talking about safety here, but Smart Mindshift is about looking at the whole system itself. How well does the system work? And for some departments, that's safety. For others, time loss. It may be not a safety thing, but time means money. And when you look at the efficiency of an organization, how many times do you have miscommunication and misunderstandings and things? Most of the time, it goes away. Nothing seriously happens. But sometimes projects come to a grinding halt. And the unfortunate side effect is then, okay, who's responsible? So it's like, okay, change that. So to answer Dimitri's question, yeah, I think that's the whole thing. We're just using safety at the moment, but Smart Mindshift and systems thinking and resilience involves the entire system of the organization. So I don't know if that's a good answer. Or I don't know if that's an answer that's complete enough.
Okay, I don't think there are any questions left anymore. No, I don't see any questions anymore, John.
Okay.
Yeah, so maybe it would be good to, if the audience, if they want to ask their questions at a later point in time, yeah. I think it's good to address that we are willing, of course, to answer all the questions. And I will ask Elise to put at least my email in the chat function. So if you want to address a question to John and me on a later point in time, feel free to do that. And thank you all very much for watching us and joining our webinar. And hope to see you soon in the future. And John, also thank you very much for your nice presentation.
Okay. Yeah, thanks, Audrey. Thanks very much. And thanks everyone for participating. And Elise also for helping us, and Mirtha for this as well. So it's greatly appreciated.